There is one line on your VA decision letter that can be worth around $43,000. It sits a few rows under the percentage, and most veterans read straight past it. At 70%, the VA pays a veteran with no dependents $1,808.45 a month in 2026. If that one line had been set 2 years earlier, the same rating for the same condition would have come with about $43,000 of back pay attached to it. Same injury, same paperwork, and one veteran ends up with a check that changes his whole year, while the other one never learns the difference was ever there. That line is called the effective date. Your rating decides how much you get every month, and the date decides how far back they have to pay you. The rule that sets it is 38 CFR 3.400, and the default costs veterans money every single day because the VA generally uses the date it received your claim rather than the date your condition actually started. So the years you spent worse off, before you even knew a claim was possible, sit outside the window, unless one of the exceptions in that same rule happens to fit your file. And nobody writes to you afterward to point out which one you missed. They work the claim in front of them and move on to the next file in the stack. There are 5 places where that date comes out later than the rule book actually allows. I am going through all 5 one at a time with the form number and the exact question to ask for each one. By the end, you can pull your own letter out of the drawer and check it yourself. Stay with me to the 5th one, because that is the one that decides whether the first 4 can still be fixed. Before we start, there's a clock running on this that you need to know about. From the date printed on your decision letter, you generally have 1 year to challenge how that effective date was set. After the year runs out, the door mostly closes, and what is left is a much harder claim to win. The rules around ratings and back pay keep moving, and the letter explaining what changed never seems to arrive. The policy changes, and you are expected to already know. What happens on this channel is simple. I go through the fine print the VA counts on you never reading, and I put it in plain words while there is still time on the clock to use it. Veterans who are subscribed hear about these things while the window is open. The ones who are not usually find out afterward. Hit subscribe, turn the bell on, and let's get into it. The first place the date goes wrong is the 12 months right after you take the uniform off. Under 38 CFR 3.400, if the VA receives your claim within 1 year of your separation date, your effective date can go back to the day after you separated, instead of the day your paperwork happened to arrive. That is the whole difference. Take a veteran who got out, spent 10 months getting settled and finding a doctor, and then filed a 21-526EZ on his own with nobody helping him. If his date got stamped on the day he filed, he is missing 10 months of compensation that the rule itself would have handed him. At 70%, that is a little over $18,000. 2 men can leave service the same week with the same condition and end up in completely different places, and the injury has nothing to do with it. If your service ended within a year of the day you filed, there is a real chance your date should be earlier than what is printed on that letter. Call 8008-271-000 and ask them for the effective date on your award and whether your original claim came in within 1 year of your separation date. The second place is a form that exists for one reason only, and a significant number of veterans have never heard of it. VA Form 2, 1-0966, is called an intent to file. The moment the VA receives it, your date is held for a full year while you go and get your evidence. Send it in on a Monday. Spend the next 11 months chasing private records and getting a buddy statement written, and the money still gets counted from that Monday. Plenty of veterans spent most of a year building a good claim and handed back a year of back pay for no reason other than nobody sat them down and told them a 1-page form existed. It can also work in your favor without you knowing about it. If you did file one at some point and then forgot, that date may already be sitting in your file, and it may never have been applied to your award. That is a 2-minute question with a very large answer. Log into your account at va.gov, go through your claim history, and look for an intent to file and the date on it. The third place catches veterans who were already rated and went back to ask for more, which is a large share of everybody watching. When you file for an increase, that same rule lets the VA reach back up to a full year before your claim, to the point where the medical evidence shows your condition actually got worse. That last part matters. The date is supposed to attach to the moment your records already showed the change, and in a lot of files that moment is months before anybody filed anything. Say your treatment notes from last spring already described the harder symptoms and you did not get around to filing until the winter. Those months in between may be owed to you at the higher rate. The VA is not going to go looking for this on its own, because finding it means reading a medical file line by line against a calendar, and the claim tends to get rated on whatever is easiest to see. Think about what that year is actually worth. Going from 70% to 100% is a jump from $1,808.45 to $3,938.58 a month in 2026. So a year of look back can come to more than $25,000 depending on where your rating landed. Ask a free accredited representative to put your treatment records next to your filing date and tell you whether the one-year look back was ever applied. The fourth place is a claim that was never actually closed, and this is the one that reaches back the furthest. When the VA receives something that reads as a claim and then never issues a decision on it, that claim can still be legally pending years later, and your current effective date may be able to reach all the way back to it. It shows up most often where a veteran listed several conditions, got a decision covering everything except one of them, and took the silence as a no. Old paper claims from before everything moved online are another common place for it to hide, along with anything you sent in during a stretch when you had far bigger problems than tracking mail. Some of you are already thinking you asked about this once and got nowhere. That is fair. Nobody volunteers it, and the only way it comes out is somebody reading your claims file in order, page by page. A free representative can request that file and do exactly that. Call 800-827-1000 and ask whether any earlier claim on your record was ever left without a decision. The fifth piece is what you actually do once you think the date is wrong, and here the calendar decides everything. Inside 1 year of the decision, you can ask for a higher level review, which puts a more senior reviewer on the same evidence and is built for this exact kind of error. You can also file a supplemental claim on VA Form 2 0-0995 if you have something new to put in front of them, like those older treatment records nobody ever saw. Once you pass the 1 year mark, the decision becomes final, and the only road left is a clear and unmistakable error claim where you have to show the mistake was obvious on the evidence the VA already had. Those are hard to win. I want to be straight with you here, because not every date can be moved. The rules also stop at the point your entitlement actually began. So if the evidence does not support an earlier date, no form is going to change that. And you should not spend 6 months living inside a fight you cannot win. Two things protect you through all of it. VA Form 2 0-0996 downloads straight from va.gov and costs nothing to file, and an accredited representative at somewhere like the VFW or your county veterans office will help you put it together for free. Nobody should ever be taking a percentage of your back pay to fix your own date. Here's the whole list again in the order you can work it tonight with the letter sitting in front of you. Find the effective date on the decision and compare it to your separation date, because a claim received inside that first year can pull the date back to the day after you got out. Then check whether an intent to file was ever received, since Form 2 1-0966 can hold a date up to a year ahead of the finished claim. If your award came out of a claim for an increase, ask whether the 1 year look back was applied to the medical evidence already sitting in your file. Have a free representative read that file for an older claim that never got a decision, because a pending claim can carry your date back further than anything else on this list. And whatever the answers turn out to be, count the days. since the date printed on that letter, because at 1 year your options narrow fast. Everything I just went through comes out of the VA's own regulations, written by the department for itself, and holding your letter up against them is the ordinary use of a system your service already paid for. The date on that page was set by a person working through a stack of files under a deadline, and people working through stacks of files miss things. The veteran who checks his date this month and the veteran who gets around to it in 2 years may be looking at very different numbers. If this helped, send it to somebody you served with. Subscribe, because the rule book is long and we are going through all of it.